Welcome to Twisted Truths, where betrayal meets brutal payback, and where the most unexpected twists expose what people are really capable of. This story isn't just shocking, it's personal. My name is Ron Mathers. I'm 50. And I was just forced out of the company I built from scratch. They said I lost my edge. That I was out of touch with modern business strategy. Funny thing is, the guy who said it, my co-founder and so-called best friend, never had an edge to begin with. He just had better suits. His name is Austin Reed. Sharp dresser. Sharper tongue. The kind of man who always landed on his feet, even if he kicked someone else off the cliff to get there. We started Horizon Path Strategies together in a shared workspace back in 2006. Me with a beat-up Dell and an old-school Rolodex, him with a sales pitch and $1,000 smile. I was the back end. He was the front. I handled the grunt work, the clients, the strategy. He handled the handshakes and the headlines. 17 years we did that dance. Then last Monday, I got called into the conference room. Austin was sitting there, flanked by two board members, men he'd recruited over the past year, men who didn't know me, didn't know my blood was in every brick of this firm. Austin slid a leather folder across the table. "Ron," he said, all smooth and sympathetic, "this is for the good of the company. You've lost perspective." I didn't say a word. Because I'd heard the whisperings. I'd seen the meetings I wasn't invited to. The late-night calls I wasn't looped in on. I should have said something when I found out he'd signed off on a new COO without consulting me. I should have pushed back when our profit-sharing agreement got restructured. But I didn't. I believed in loyalty. I thought Austin did too. Until that moment. He smiled at me like we were still friends. "You'll retain some equity," he said, like he was doing me a favor. "We'll handle the transition smoothly." I didn't even look at the papers. I just stood, nodded, and said, "Good luck, Austin." That was it. 17 years, gone in 17 minutes. I packed a cardboard box with the only things I truly owned, my daughter's hand-drawn Father's Day card, a coffee mug from our first client, and a journal where I'd written every lesson I'd learned in business since day one. Then I walked out of my own company. But as I sat in my truck in the parking lot, engine off, heart pounding, I realized something Austin had clearly forgotten. The clients weren't loyal to Horizon Path. They were loyal to me. And Austin? He just declared war on the wrong man. When I got home that night, I didn't even go inside right away. I just sat there in the driveway with the box in my lap, staring through the windshield like the house in front of me was some stranger's. The porch light flickered, a bulb I'd been meaning to change for a week. My wife wasn't home anymore. Hadn't been for 2 years. My daughter, Tessa, was away at college. The silence felt brutal. That night, I barely slept. My mind kept replaying every moment, every late night at the office, every win Austin and I celebrated with cheap whiskey and big dreams. All of it turned to ash in a single meeting. The next morning, I made black coffee and stared at my laptop. I opened the Horizon Path website and found my bio already scrubbed from the About Us page. All those press interviews I gave, the major deals I closed, the strategy one bled for, it was like I never existed. Worse still, my work email was gone. Just a 404. I tried calling a few people, but they were already ghosting me. My name suddenly carried weight, bad weight. I knew Austin was spinning the story. Making it sound like I'd lost my mind. Maybe he said I was burned out. Maybe he called me a liability. And maybe part of me started believing it. That first week was hell. I felt like a ghost in my own city. I drove around aimlessly, revisiting the neighborhoods where we once knocked on doors begging for clients. Every billboard I passed with our logo made me physically sick. I went to the park one morning, just to breathe. There was a father teaching his son how to throw a football. The boy missed and started crying. The dad knelt, patient and kind, and said, "Try again, bud. We don't quit." And I thought, when the hell did I quit? When did I let someone else decide I was done? That night, I sat down and finally did the one thing I had avoided for days. I opened my old file drawer, the one I hadn't touched in years. Inside was the original partnership agreement Austin and I signed back in 2006. Yellowed, brittle, but still intact. Section 9 caught my eye. I read it once. Then again. My hand started shaking. Because buried in all the legal jargon was something Austin hadn't counted on. A clause about personal service agreements. A list of clients who were under my individual care, whose contracts technically resided with me, not the firm. Something we drafted in the early days as a safeguard. Forgotten by everyone but me. I stayed up that night till sunrise rereading the document, cross-referencing every client name I could remember. Then I opened a blank Word doc and started a list. Client by client. Project by project. By the time the sun rose over Portland, I had something I hadn't felt in a week. A reason to fight. It's wild how one line of text, one dusty clause in a 17-year-old contract, can flip your entire reality upside down. I stared at Section 9 again, my eyes gritty from no sleep but now locked in. It was titled, Exclusive Personal Client Relationships and Service Agreements. In short, 27 clients we'd signed during our first 5 years had contracts tied directly to me. Not Horizon Path. Not Austin. Me. Back then, it was just a way to protect ourselves in case the company ever folded. We'd been young and broke, thinking we needed every shield we could get. We even had legal templates drawn up for this. Somewhere along the way, as we expanded and restructured, Austin must have forgotten those agreements existed, or maybe he assumed they'd expired. They hadn't. Not legally. Not contractually. And these weren't just any clients. These were anchor accounts, the kind that made up over 60% of the firm's revenue stream. I knew right then I wasn't out of moves. I wasn't even out of the game. Austin had forced me off the field. But he'd left the ball in my hands. I grabbed my phone and called the one person I trusted to make sense of this, Rebecca Wu, my old corporate attorney and a no-nonsense genius when it came to contract law. She picked up on the second ring. "Ron. It's been a while. I've got something. I need your eyes on it." Within the hour, I was in her downtown office, coffee in hand, contract spread out on the table between us. She read in silence for 10 straight minutes, only breaking once to say, "Holy hell." Then, "Ron, if these client agreements are still in effect and if they were never transferred over in a proper addendum, Austin has no legal grounds to claim them." "He doesn't know," I said. "I'm sure of it." Rebecca leaned back in her chair. "Then you're sitting on a bomb he doesn't even know exists." A wicked little fire sparked in my chest. "I want to start a new firm," I said. "Something small. Agile. Just me and the clients who actually want real strategy, not spin." "You'll need to be careful," she warned. "Your non-compete technically restricts you from soliciting. But you can respond to inquiries. You can prepare. And when the buyout window ends, I'll be ready." She smirked. "I'll start the paperwork." That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept. And when I woke up, I wasn't broken anymore. I was focused. By Friday morning, I had an email drafted, nothing overt, nothing actionable, just a quiet, personal note sent to the private inboxes of a few key clients. Just wanted to say thank you, for everything these past 17 years. I'll be transitioning away from Horizon Path, but I look forward to what the future holds. Feel free to reach out anytime. No solicitation. No pitch. But I knew them. And they knew me. My phone rang within an hour. First was Mitchell Klein from Altora Logistics. Ron, what the hell happened? We've been getting emails from some junior associate who doesn't know the difference between inbound and outbound freight. I laughed. I'm on a break, Mitch. But if things change, you'll be the first to know. Second was Elise from Harmony Bank. Then Jerome from Windvale Retail. Then 4 others. All of them said some version of the same thing. We don't care about Horizon. We want you. I didn't sleep that weekend, not because I was anxious, but because I was building. A new company name. A logo. A game plan. I'd lost my edge, huh? No. Austin just gave me the sharpest one I'd ever had. There's a difference between revenge and justice. I wasn't looking to ruin Austin for the sake of it. I wasn't going to key his Tesla or humiliate him online. No, I was going to hit him where it hurts. In the bank account. If he thought he could just cut me out and walk away with everything we built, he was about to learn that I didn't build my reputation on PowerPoints or polished speeches. I built it on trust. By Monday, the plan was already in motion. Step 1, set up the structure. Rebecca and I filed the paperwork for a new consultancy, Iron Bridge Advisory. Small. Personal. High impact. No fluff. No boardrooms full of buzzwords. Just real results for real clients. Step 2, secure the core. I reached out to Jennifer, my former assistant. Smart as hell. Organized. She knew every file, every contact, every note. And more importantly, she knew the truth about how Austin had been maneuvering behind the scenes. She picked up on the first ring. Ron. Is it true? Depends what you heard. That you're out. That Austin iced you. I didn't say a word. I'm in, she said before I could ask. Whatever you're doing. Wherever you're going. Step 3, lay low. But listen. I couldn't violate the non-compete by soliciting, but I could talk. I could prepare. Over the next 2 weeks, I quietly met with clients, off the record, lunch, coffee, walks along the Willamette. No pitches. Just catch-ups. But those catch-ups led to conversations. Those conversations led to questions. And those questions started forming a storm. Turns out Austin had already begun fumbling the handoffs. Some clients were being managed by junior associates who couldn't explain their own reports. Some hadn't heard a word since I left. The visionary they were promised was missing in action. He thought leadership was about swagger. But the thing about clients? They don't care how expensive your blazer is. They care if you pick up the phone when things go wrong. Step 4, line up the dominoes. Jennifer had a copy of every original service agreement I'd signed over the years. We cross-checked dates, clauses, expiration windows. Turns out Austin hadn't updated a damn thing. He thought the company's image would carry the relationships. But he'd forgotten, I was the relationship. Step 5, wait. And watch. The final payout window for my buyout was set for 30 days post-termination. I couldn't act until that date passed. But I could be ready. So I circled the date on the calendar, big red X. And underneath it, I wrote one word. Launch. Because on that day, when my hands were legally untied, I wasn't just walking back into the game. I was taking back the board. The morning of my official launch, I woke up at 4:45 a.m. Not because I had to. Because I couldn't wait. The buyout window had closed at midnight. I was no longer bound by any non-compete clauses. My hands were free. And I was about to take back what was mine. I put on my oldest button-down. No suit, no tie. Just the same outfit I wore the day we signed our first client nearly 2 decades ago. I wanted to feel that hunger again. Iron Bridge Advisory went live at 8 a.m. The website was simple, no jargon, no fluff. Just a landing page with one message. Built on trust. Backed by results. Led by Ron Mathers. And then I picked up the phone. My first call was to Mitchell Klein. Mitchell. It's official. I'm back in business. His voice cracked like he'd been holding his breath. Thank God. We've been drowning with Austin's new people. When can we start? Send me the files. Let's do this right. Then Elise. Then Jerome. Then Jamila from Hexatech. Then Leona from Vantage Foods. By noon, Iron Bridge had signed 9 full-service contracts. By Friday? 17. Each conversation was more or less the same. Polite hellos. Professional courtesies. And then a torrent of frustration, delays, confusion, lack of follow-through. Horizon Path was leaking clients like a sinking ship. And Austin? He didn't even know why yet. That Friday, he found out. Because Jennifer sent me a message at 3:12 p.m. Austin just called an emergency client summit. 2 pulled out mid-call. Another said they've moved to Iron Bridge. He's panicking. I could picture it, the boardroom, the forced smile, the flustered assistants. The man who claimed I'd lost my edge, realizing I hadn't lost a thing. I had just taken it with me. And then came the final nail. Clearwater Systems. One of our longest-standing clients. Technically my first major deal, back when we were working from folding tables and rented routers. Their CEO, Lisa Tran, emailed Austin directly and CC'd me. We've appreciated our time with Horizon Path, but effective immediately, Clearwater will be working directly with Mr. Mathers through Iron Bridge Advisory. The relationship has always been with him. Not the brand. Boom. And just like that, 18% of Horizon's quarterly revenue vanished in a single paragraph. Austin tried calling me that night. 3 times. I let it ring. Then I texted back. You should have read section 9. You know what's funny? For a man who prided himself on always being 10 steps ahead, Austin never saw the trap he walked into. Because while he was busy trying to destroy my legacy, I was busy uncovering his dirty little secret. It came from Jennifer. She called me one night, voice hushed, shaken. Ron, you need to hear this. She forwarded me an email chain she'd been BCC'd on by mistake, a thread between Austin and a private equity group in California. The emails were coded in corporate speak, but the message was clear as day. He was negotiating a quiet sale of Horizon Path for months before he forced me out. And here's the twist, the PE group had a condition. We need full operational control. No legacy partners. Clean slate, no emotional baggage. I was that baggage. So Austin sold me out, not just to take control, but to cash out entirely. He never planned to run Horizon after pushing me out. He was going to strip it, sell it, and vanish, leaving the staff, the clients, the culture, and everyone who trusted us in the dust. It wasn't about fresh leadership. It was about lining his pockets. And here's where it gets beautiful. In one of those emails, Austin had attached a financial forecast. A bright, optimistic lie, full of projected earnings based on client accounts that were now sitting on my desk. Every single number he promised those buyers. Gone. By the time I saw the thread, 21 of those clients had already transitioned to Iron Bridge. That alone nuked his credibility. But the real blow came next. I sent the email chain to Rebecca, my lawyer. She read it and said, "This isn't just unethical, it might be criminal." Explain. If he was brokering a sale while still claiming fiduciary responsibility to you, his business partner, and withholding that information during your buyout, that's fraud. You could sue. I didn't hesitate. Draft the letter. We're going to scorch the earth. The next morning, Rebecca sent a formal notice of intent to sue for breach of fiduciary duty, fraudulent misrepresentation, and intentional infliction of business harm. We CC'd the board, the PE group, and, of course, Austin himself. It was like dropping a grenade in a boardroom. An hour later, Austin called again. I picked up this time. His voice was ice. "You're trying to destroy me." "No, Austin," I said calmly. "You did that yourself. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. You don't want to do this." "Already did." He tried threatening me with a countersuit. I laughed. "You're sitting on a collapsing firm, 70% of your revenue is gone, your investors are pulling out, and I have documented proof you lied during our buyout. You want to bring that into a courtroom?" Silence. I let it sit for a beat. Then I added, "Remember that night in 2007 when you said we'd never screw each other over? That we were brothers?" He didn't answer. "Yeah. Me too." And I hung up. By the time the bankruptcy filing hit the business pages, I was already sipping coffee in my new office, watching the city wake up from 30 stories above. Horizon Path Consulting files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. CEO Austin Reed resigns amid client exodus. The article quoted him, trying to blame unforeseen market shifts. No mention of betrayal. No mention of personal greed. And certainly no mention of me. But the industry knew. The clients knew. And the board? They were livid. 3 of them resigned immediately after seeing the lawsuit. The PE firm backed out within 72 hours of receiving Rebecca's evidence package. Jennifer had uncovered internal memos, timelines, and even a fake Q4 forecast Austin had doctored to inflate earnings before the sale. He was toast. As the final blow, Clearwater Systems CEO, Lisa Tran, sent a formal letter of ethics violation to the Consulting Accreditation Board, citing Austin's conduct during the attempted acquisition. His professional license suspended. His name tainted. And me? Iron Bridge Advisory wasn't just surviving. It was thriving. Within 3 months, we had 24 full-service clients. 8 new staff members, including Jennifer, now operations director. 9 million in recurring revenue. And one motto written in permanent marker across our conference whiteboard. Build what they can't steal. I never planned to become the face of poetic justice. I didn't want to be a cautionary tale. But standing in that office, surrounded by people who believed in the real work, the honest work, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. Tessa, my daughter, flew home from college and dropped by one Friday afternoon. She walked the halls, shook hands with the team, saw the photo I'd framed on my desk of our first folding table office in 2006. "This place feels different," she said. "Like you're doing it your way now." "I am." She looked at me, then smiled. "You didn't lose your edge, Dad. You just stopped letting someone else dull it." That night, I sat alone on my porch, watching the lights ripple across the hills. I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean. The betrayal, the fall, the fire, it was all worth it. Because when someone shows you who they really are, you don't just walk away. You rebuild without them. And you build it better. In the end, truth has a way of surfacing, even if it comes twisted through pain and betrayal. As one wise voice once said, sometimes your greatest enemy was once your closest ally. If this story struck a chord with you, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and spread the word, because justice deserves to be heard.